Without structure, there is no income in supported living. And structure is actually what protects the property and the income behind it. Whenever we lease a property from a landlord or a developer, first question they want to ask is, what are the rents? And the second question is always, what are the type of tenants that you're housing? Now, although these questions are very good, and to be fair, you should always be asking these questions, I think the more important question is, how good are you operationally? What are your systems? How long have you been operating? Because at the end of the day, the problems don't start because of the property or the area. The problems start because of how operationally weak the provider that you're working with is. Now, as a landlord, you've chosen to come into supported living because you think there's no repairs, there's no maintenance, etc. But realistically, in this industry, the leases are quite different depending on the providers that you're working with. Some things will be covered and some things will not. Now, the most important thing is to pick a provider that is operationally excellent. The reason being is because when a provider is very, very good operationally, you typically find that the environments that they have are quite calm. You're going to have less repairs, you're going to have less maintenance, and all in all, you're going to have a lot less, of a headache. Because when you have providers who are not experienced, typically they can't keep a stable and calm environments for the people that they care for, which brings in a lot of problems that you would not necessarily expect. Now, imagine something as simple as consistent staffing can be quite significant to the operations of the business. And the reason being is because, let's say, for instance, we're caring for somebody who's autistic, and, for instance, you're working with a care provider who has very, very weak operations. They don't really know what they're doing. And they can't really recruit or retain staff. And in this example, they're caring for somebody with autism. Now, individuals who are autistic like to have consistency, like to have the same people again and again and again. And they like to have a routine which they can rely on. And when this doesn't happen, they can become dysregulated and they may kick out and actually cause significant property damage. Now, as you can imagine, these repairs can be quite significant for the care provider as well as yourself, depending on the lease structure that you have in place. And so it's just something to be aware of. Don't just focus on your rental income today. Focus on the operations of that care service. Do you believe they're capable? And how many services do they currently have? And that will sort of prove how good they are as a care service. As a landlord, you may still be insuring the property because, your lease stipulates that you also need to insure the property and it's your responsibility. Now, if that care company has weak operations, are they going to be covering your insurance liability by making sure that they're running a weekly fire alarm test? They've got an active log of all the tests that they've done and they've reported any problems with that fire alarm. Because God forbid something happens, fire breaks out and you need to claim onto your insurance. Are you going to be able to do so? At the end of the day, we all want as much rent as possible. Every landlord that we speak to wants the most rent possible, but you also need to focus on durability of that particular provider. And the reason being is, look, do you want to earn a lot of money for the next 3 months, or do you want to earn a lot of money for the next 10, 15 or 20 years? And of course, earning a lot of money with a lot of headache doesn't always make sense. You might want to earn a lot with the most or also the least amount of headache possible. So next time you want to structure a supported living deal, just think about the provider, think about the durability, and think about asking the provider how they create structure or what their organizational structure is like or what their experience is in the industry. If you like this video, please follow and we'll catch you in the next one.